Having knowledge on how to conduct basic rappels gives you an additional means to overcome that obstacle and complete your operation. Good morning, I'm Sergeant Conan. I'll be your primary instructor for this lesson. The lesson we're going to be covering is to conduct basic rappels. Now, some safety considerations that we want to talk about is anytime you're operating up on the tower or on a cliff, make sure you're maintaining situational awareness as well as edge awareness anytime you're operating near the edge. You will have your helmets on at all times, as well as gloves during your rappel. So, before we get into talking about the actual actions during the descent and the rappel, first we need to talk about the responsibilities of the belayer. If you direct your attention to the bottom, Sergeant First Class Thomas, he is our belayer. The belayer's job is to act as a personal safety for the rappeller in the event that he has a fall or he becomes injured. He'll be directing his attention up to the rappeller at all times. Now, if you look at Sergeant Thomas's position, he's standing approximately 1 arm's length away from the tower. He has his feet approximately shoulder width apart, giving him a good base to stand on. He has his hands high above his head with his hands around the rope. He's not gripping onto the rope or pulling any tension on the rope. He's just simply holding it there in his hands if his rappeller falls. If at any time his rappeller does have a fall and he needs to stop his movement, he can go to that full brake position, which is grabbing the rope, pulling it into his chest, and dropping his body weight. That will apply friction to the rope and prevent the movement or the descent of that rappeller. So now that we've talked about the belayer's responsibilities, now we're going to go into actually talking about the rappel. The first rappel that you're going to be doing is a figure 8 rappel. So at the top, once the RI has inspected your rappel device, he's going to go ahead and disconnect you from that safety, and he's going to tell you to begin your rappel. The first thing you're going to do is the rappeller is going to go ahead and make his way to the edge, and he's going to sound off with his lane number and on rappel.
Demo lane on rappel.
The belayer is then going to respond with his lane number and on belay.
Demo lane, on belay!
That is a verbal confirmation between the two, letting him know that that belayer has that rappeller's life in his hands. The rappeller is then going to go ahead and step down onto that 4-inch ledge right there, and he's going to get himself in a good L-shaped position. If you notice right now, Staff Sergeant Wall, he has himself in the full brake position. That is having that rope placed in the lower to the center of your back. When it's time for him to go ahead and begin his rappel, he's going to move his arm out at a 45-degree angle, and that's going to reduce the friction. Now, if at any time during the rappel, if that rappeller feels like he's becoming unstable or might fall, he's going to sound off with falling.
Falling.
If you notice, Sergeant First Class Thomas, being the belayer, he realized he was falling, and he went to that full brake position, and that stopped Staff Sergeant Wall's descent. Once Sergeant Wall feels like he's got himself in a good position, he's ready to begin his rappel again, he'll go ahead and sound off with his lane number and on rappel.
Demo lane on rappel.
Demo lane, on belay.
Sergeant Thomas will also sound off with that lane number and on belay. They can continue his rappel. Notice how Sergeant Wall is looking over the shoulder against his brake hand side, watching where he's going at all times. Once he gets down to the ground, that belayer is going to pin that rope up against the wall. The rappeller is going to go ahead and place his hands over that rappel device and make his way back until he gets off the rope. Once the rappeller is off the rope, he's going to sound off with his lane number and off rappel.
Demo lane off rappel.
Once
Demo
he does
lane,
that,
off belay.
he's going to take his gloves off, stuff them inside of his top, and he's then going to assume the duties of the belayer. Now, the second rappel that you're going to be conducting is going to be the ATC rappel with a sling extension and a full combat load. So again, once the RI has inspected your equipment, he's going to go ahead and take that safety off of you, and then he's going to tell you to go ahead and begin your rappel. Just like before, that once he makes his way to the ledge, he's going to go ahead and sound off with his lane number and on rappel.
Demo lane, on rappel.
His belayer is then going to sound off with that lane number on belay.
Demo lane on belay.
Once he receives that verbal confirmation, he can go ahead and conduct his edge transition. He'll step down onto that 4-inch ledge and start getting into his good L-shaped position. Now, the difference when you're doing with the ATC is that your brake strand is not going to go out the right side, it's actually going to be going between your legs. So he's going to lean back and he's going to get in what's called a shallow L position. You don't want to sit in a full L-shaped position, because in the event if your rucksack is heavy, it could topside you backwards and it'll be upside down. But once he's ready to go, he's going to go ahead and all he's going to do is simply push that rope out away from him a little bit, and that's going to reduce the friction on the ATC. and he can begin conducting his rappel. If he ever needs to stop, he can go ahead and go to that full brake position, which is pulling both strands of that rope in towards his body. Once he gets down, that belayer is going to go ahead and hold on to that rope. He's going to place his hands above that rappel device, and he's going to make his way back off the rope. Once the rappeller is off the rope, he's going to move back about 3 to 5 meters. He'll drop his rucksack. He'll stuff his gloves inside of his top, and then he'll replace that belayer. So now that we've talked about the action